The early signing period is just 7-8 weeks away. It's really creeping up on us. So we got some 5-star intel with Director of Recruiting Chad Simmons in this video, and he's going to take us behind the scenes, some of the biggest recruitments we're watching between today and National Signing Day. But first, you guys do me a favor, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruit channel. We're the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube, and recruiting's about to get red hot, so make sure you jump on board, hit subscribe. All right, let's bring on Chad Simmons. Chad, we got some 5-star intel we got to talk about. Let's start with Elijah Griffin because he's making his decision Friday. The #1 defensive lineman in America, down to 3 teams, Georgia, Miami, and USC. Chad, give us the latest ahead of his decision.
Yeah, I mean, the latest, obviously, Josh, is coming off that OV to Georgia. We know we've painted Georgia as the team to beat for well over a year, maybe 2 years even. They offered him first going back to his middle school days. I think second or third game of his 8th grade year, Georgia offered him a scholarship and has been getting him on campus to Athens as often as possible ever since. So I still like where Georgia sits. I think, Miami's been a team to watch, getting him on that OV over the summer. He tried to get back to Coral Gables in September. It didn't work for that Ball State game. He's only seen 2 games this year, and both have had Georgia involved, once in Atlanta for Clemson and then back this past weekend for Mississippi State. USC just too far away. They stayed in the mix. Eric Henderson did a good job there. Across the country just didn't work for him and his family. Miami's a team to watch as far as competition, but Georgia's still in the driver's seat.
All right, well, let's stay in the state of Georgia, talk about another 5-star defensive lineman. This one, we go from the #1 defensive lineman to the #2 defensive lineman, Justice Terry. We got Alabama, Auburn, and FSU in the mix, but this weekend is big because he's going to take an official visit to Texas. Now, he's probably not going to make a decision until the early signing period. So how do you see Texas factoring into this recruitment right now?
Well, ask me this time next. I'll probably have a better answer next week at this time. We'll see what happens. I mean, Texas obviously is new to this race. I mean, Justice told me himself they just started recruiting him probably about 2.5 weeks ago. So since they've started and Elijah Griffin told me the same. So we know Texas wants another D lineman or 2 in this class. They start reaching out to multiple guys, including Elijah Griffin, Justice, Walter Mathis here, LSU commit in Georgia. I mean, starting to search for another one, and Justice is the hot name this weekend, getting him on campus for the OV. And he's talking to Kenny Baker. He's talked to Sark a few times. I mean, I think they pique his interest because it's Texas. We know they're a top program. He's been committed at one time to both Georgia and USC. I think he wants to somewhat enjoy this last month and a half, 2 months before he commits and truly signs with the school in December. But Texas has a big opportunity this weekend. Get him on campus for 48 hours. Roll out the red carpet. Should be a great atmosphere at night at Texas against Georgia, the team that's probably been trending for him since he opened his recruitment back up. But Texas is, I think, somewhat of an unknown for Terry and his family. I mean, he's watched them on TV. He's talked to the coaches a few times, but all this is kind of new. So it'll be a huge opportunity for him to see Texas and for Texas to wow him this weekend.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the scene that we saw last weekend when Naeem Offord, who's committed to Ohio State, was in the Oregon recruiting section to watch the Ducks beat the Buckeyes. So this could be a similar scenario where Justice Terry is in the stands watching Texas beat Georgia. And you're right, we'll have a much better idea of where things stand with Justice Terry next week at this time. All right, let's move on to cornerback Dijon Lee, the 5-star out of California, committed to Alabama in June. The #4 ranked corner, though, took a visit, and you broke this news on Friday, to Georgia. So what are you hearing coming out of this most recent visit to Georgia for Dijon Lee?
Yeah, look, I have no reason to say or even think yet that he is on flip watch from Alabama, but I do know he had a great time at Georgia. And what really took him back was that connection that goes way back to Dante Williams this time at USC. When I first started covering Dijon Lee, I always saw him and kind of kidded with him about always having that USC hoodie on. I've got pictures of him in it. He loves Dante Williams. That connection has not gone away. Georgia has stayed in consistent communication with him since he committed to Alabama. He's talked to Kirby Smart. He's talked to Glenn Schumann. He's talked to Travaris Robinson. So, look, Georgia's not giving up on Dijon Lee. Again, he had a great time. He talked to some commits. He had a one-on-one meeting with Kirby Smart while in Athens over the weekend. And Look, he was pretty honest that Georgia is still on his radar. He still has interest in Georgia, but he still also at the same time feels very good about Alabama. And they have done nothing wrong. Again, I have nothing to make me feel like he's on flip watch or could
Right.
decommit from Alabama anytime soon. I just think he's just keeping that relationship going. And the same can be said about Texas A&M as well. He plans to get back to College Station for the Texas game in November. I wouldn't put them as big of a threat or competition to Alabama like the way Georgia is, but they're still in the mix as well. But look, he had a great time at Georgia. Communication is still strong with that staff in Athens, but right now he's still committed and feels good about where he's at with Alabama.
All right, more five-star intel. Tight end Lincoln Curie, he's committed to Kansas State, but Oregon's red hot. Now, Oregon wanted him initially. They lost him to Kansas State, but they are not giving up. Did the Ducks have a real shot at flipping Lincoln Curie from Kansas State? All right, Inside Scoop fans, we got to talk Prize Picks. Remember last week we got that reboot on Travis Hunter being injured? Well, this week, here's what I like. We're taking Jalen Milroe, more than 16.5 on his longest rush. Shador Sanders, more than 1.5 touchdowns. He's going to throw more than 2 touchdowns. Come on, let's go. Quinn Ewers, more than 255.5 passing yards. All right, that's my picks. Let me know your picks, comment section below. We absolutely love Prize Picks here at the Inside Scoop. You know how to play. You pick 2 or more players, then select their stat line, more or less than, submit your lineup in less than 60 seconds. It's super easy, and right now we got an offer. $5, play $5, and you automatically get $50 in your account. Win or lose, you put $5 down, you will get $50 in your account. It's easy to do. All you got to do is go to prizepicks.com/inside scoop and use promo code inside scoop to receive that guaranteed $50 once you play 5. That's promo code inside scoop. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Yeah, real shot. I would say yes. I mean, is it going to be easy? Definitely not. You know, he's from Kansas. He has a great connection with that staff at Kansas State, you know, from the head coach all the way down to the staffers. I mean, they communicate with him every day. He watches Kansas State play every day. We were texting the other night when K-State was playing Colorado late into Saturday night. Great game again there. K-State gets that win at Colorado. He likes the quarterback with Avery Johnson. But with that said, he plans to be back in Manhattan for the Kansas game. But then right now, the date circled is for the Maryland game to go back to Oregon. That's not 100% locked in yet, but that's, I would say, likely to happen. He gets back to Eugene this season. I think if that visit happens, which seems likely right now, they'll have their shot, probably that last shot to get in front of him and make their case about why he should go to Oregon. There's no doubt. He likes that scheme. He likes that fit. He likes the Oregon brand. But is it enough to get him out of his home state and away from Kansas State?
Yeah, Ducks need him back on campus. Speaking of Oregon, let's talk more flip targets. Now, Oregon could be flipping Lincoln Curie, but I want to talk about one of their commitments right now. Cornerback Brandon Finny. Chad, we spoke about him a couple weeks ago. It seemed like he was trending heavily to Penn State, potentially flipping to the Nittany Lions, but this past weekend, he was back at Oregon for that Ohio State game. Can the Ducks hold on?
I was just talking to someone here about an hour ago about the same thing, Josh. I mean, I said I wouldn't put Dijon Lee on flip watch from Alabama. I would not put Lincoln Curie on flip watch from Kansas State, but I would put Brandon Finny on flip watch from Oregon. Look, he went back to Oregon. They've done nothing wrong. They just beat Ohio State at night. Crazy atmosphere. He got one-on-one time with Chris Hampton. He spent time with Dan Lanning. That crowd was crazy. You couldn't ask for a better environment to be in. But when I'm hearing still a lot about Penn State after going on a visit like that, where Oregon knocked off an elite competitor in Ohio State in a huge game, huge win around other Oregon commits, that tells me something. And to me, that tells me that the interest in Penn State is real. He was there a week and a half ago in Happy Valley. And even coming off that visit to Oregon, I'm still hearing a lot about Penn State being in a good position there. I think it comes down to comfortability. I mean, obviously, he's from Baltimore area. You know, Penn State, much closer to home and his family than Eugene, Oregon. He has teammates that used to play there. at Penn State. He has a teammate right now committed to Penn State. I think it comes down to that relationship and the people in Happy Valley that have him really thinking about making that flip. Look, right now he's still committed to Oregon. Nothing's been finalized, but I do like still the position Penn State is in, and they have a great shot here to flip Brendan Finny from Oregon.
All right, let's head out to USC. Stephen Miller, he flipped his commitment from Mississippi State to the Trojans. Now he's one of the top safeties in America, and now his teammate, Kevin Wynn, defensive lineman that's committed to FSU. He was also on last weekend's visit with Stephen Miller, their teammates, to USC. So Kevin Wynn is a flip target that we talk about with Georgia. He's a flip target we talk about with Texas. But now USC, do they have a shot at flipping Kevin Wynn from FSU?
There's no doubt that there's real buzz around Kevin Wynn and obviously USC. It seems like every time a player goes to USC, though, that there's buzz around them making that move and getting that commitment or flipping him from wherever he's committed to. This one's no different. That the biggest thing that's different about this one compared to his teammate, Stephen Miller, who flipped his commitment, was Miller had his family with him in L.A. Kevin Wynn did not. I think that leaves more questions about, can he go back home and convince his family that, he wants to go all the way across the country from out on the east side of Georgia, small town of Greensboro, to move to the big city of LA? Yes, his teammates committed there. Yes, Kevin does like Eric Henderson. He does like Lincoln Riley. He does like what USC offers on and off the field as a program, as a university. But I don't think, based on what I'm hearing right now, there's an imminent decision to be made about flipping to USC or even staying with Florida State. They're still trying to figure out, as of the time we take this show, Josh, is will he be at Texas this weekend? Will he not? They're involved. You mentioned Georgia. That's been viewed as the biggest threat to Florida State. What I can say right now, based on his recruitment, is I would lean away from him ending up at Florida State as of right now. Yes, he's committed to Florida State. He does like Odell Higgins. He does like Norvell. He likes the people there in Tallahassee. But, I would pick the field as of right now against Florida State with Kevin Wynn. Will it be USC? I think only time will tell. Could he take an OV out there and take his family to USC in LA? That's being discussed as well. So, look, USC has got their foot in the door. They made a big impression on him. He has a teammate committed there. Let's see what happens in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it feels like Kevin Wynn just kind of holding a spot right now on that FSU commit list while he figures a secondary destination, we should say. All right. Let's move on to a new expert prediction that you dropped on Tuesday. That's for Byron Baldwin, a top 20 safety in America, and you got him going to Colorado. He was originally committed to Indiana, took that official visit to Colorado a couple weeks ago, decommitted. Now you are predicting him to end up in Boulder. Chad, when do you think this could happen? What's the timeline looking at?
Yeah, I joined Wilt Fong there. He had some buzz about Byron coming off that OV back in September. He was still committed to Indiana at the time, decommitted from Indiana earlier this month. And the funny thing about it is he plans to go back to Indiana this weekend for their game against Nebraska. But I like where Colorado sits here. And he has a commitment date right now set for November 15th, about a month away. That's his sister's birthday, has kind of pegged that to kind of honor her, make it a family celebration. But don't be surprised if something happens sooner than that. I think unless something happens this weekend with Indiana, Colorado is picking up buzz and momentum by the day based on what I'm hearing from people connected to Baldwin's recruitment. He's a big-time safety, 4-star kid from St. Francis Academy in Baltimore. And he's looking at the opportunity to play for a guy like Deion Sanders. I mean, obviously multiple staff members there are recruiting him. Coach Livingston is involved. But I think what appeals to him about Colorado is Coach Prime. His success in the NFL, being one of the best to ever do it, and to kind of learn from a guy like that really appeals to him. Missouri's involved. UCLA is involved. Obviously, Indiana's still in the mix. Florida offered him recently as well. But right now, things are picking up behind the scenes with Colorado and Byron Baldwin.
All right, Chad, a lot of good intel in this segment. You guys talk to us, comment section below. How are we feeling about Elijah Griffin, Justice Terry, Dijon Lee, Lincoln Cure, and the other flip targets we mentioned? You guys let us know, comment section below.